Thank everyone for coming. We're really grateful to have you all. Just want to give you a quick rundown, introduction, and overview of the next hour. Introducing ourselves as Collective Justice. We're a restorative justice agency out of Seattle, Washington, King County area. This organization was founded by folks that were incarcerated and in community who have been on both sides of harm and impacted by violence. And out of that conversation came this understanding that the criminal justice system wasn't serving us, and we wanted something different, and delved into this idea around restorative justice, worked in community with other organizations like API Chaya, Northwest Network, that helped us develop some curriculums around supporting survivors and those who had caused harm. And we were formed. Started inside with healing circles known as HEAL, which was an acronym for Healing Education for Accountability and Liberation. And then simultaneously in community, we're providing circles for community members who had experienced serious harm. And from there now, we're here in community, still providing circles for formerly incarcerated folks and for survivors of serious harm. We offer direct dialogues between folks on both sides of harm, and we organize in community. And so, yeah, just wanted to kind of give folks a breakdown of the work we're doing. My name is Devin. I'm a founding member of Collective Justice. It's an honor to be here. At CJ, I try to help cultivate resources with YQ and our grant manager, Jess. I'll give you guys an introduction to the rest of the staff as we move forward. What we're going to do is share out a video that we've been working on. So one of the best ways to share this work is storytelling. Some people like numbers, but stories seem to be the best way to really do the work that to share the work that do justice to the work that we share. So what we're going to do is share this short video that was created by a gentleman named Brian Tucker. And then after that, we're going to have Lupe, Cass, Dolphy, and Tyra conduct a speakers panel. They're going to answer a few questions around Dolphy and Tyra are going to answer some questions around their experience with restorative justice and collective justice. And Cass is also going to contribute. Lupe will be moderating. And then after the questions, we're going to open it up to you all in case you have questions that you would like to ask or share some thoughts and feedback around the video. And then we'll close it on out. Boom. We'll let everybody sit with that for a minute. Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to give a shout out to all the folks that help contribute to that. Some of them are here, are on the panel. Grady, Stacy, Brianna, just a whole group of folks that aren't going to be on the panel. Matt, that aren't on the panel today, but also contributed. One thing I like to highlight is that all the folks that you see are actively involved in the work, involved with CJ. We don't need actors. We got everyone in community participating and showing up to do the work. And with that said, want to shoot to our panel and start with some introductions. I'll start off with our moderator, Lupe Vidaurri. Yep.
Vidaurri.
I thought I had it right.
All right, it's all right.
Sorry, my bad. And Lupe is one of the founding members of Collective Justice as well. When I shared earlier the circles inside of the institution back in 2017, Lupe was a lead facilitator for our HEAL Circle that I was a part of, and is now the co-director of our HEAL Circles in community. So she'll be moderating. And then we have Cass, our wonderful Cass, Cassandra Butler, who is also our co-director for HEAL. She works primarily with folks in community, holding circles in community, and she'll be a member of the panel answering some questions. And then our two superstars, Dolphy and Tyra. Dolphy is a facilitator for our formerly incarcerated person circle. He's been with us almost from the very beginning as well. Back in 2021, hopped on as the intern while he was in school and has just been, man, blazing the trail ever since. Really engaging in the work. Someone that I deeply admire and have had the opportunity to do some facilitation with. And then last but not least, most definitely we have Tyra. Tyra is someone who comes to this work, through years of experience, even prior to CJ, was engaging in RJ work, found a spot here as a participant, and is now a facilitator for our heal circles and our dialogue processes. Just someone who comes in and actually embodies this RJ work and admires so much. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lupe to kick this off. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, thank you so much, Devin, for kicking us off, and YQ for all the handling of the logistics, all the things. So like Dev mentioned, I'm going to kick off the panel of wonderful folks that you are seeing on our screens today. We have a number of questions that we have identified to move through, and at the end, we hope to have some time for y'all to also ask some questions of our dope people as well. And the first question that we have is speaking to some of the joys that people that have experienced in RJ work and participating in it. And just to make it easy, I'm just gonna let our panelists know who the order will be asking the question in, so they know when to jump in. And so this first one, I'm actually going to start with Cass. And Cass, if you want to jump into Dolphy and then Tyra, that would be great. So the question is, what have been some of the joys that have come from participating in this work of RJ for you?
Thanks, Loops. Hey, everybody. Some of the joys, I think the biggest joys in participating in RJ work for me has been my connection to folks incarcerated goes way back to when my brother was incarcerated over a decade ago. And I was seeking and searching people in community to do work with, which led me from Spokane to over here. And some of the biggest joys that I think I've had is seeing folks that I was working alongside that were inside at one point that are now out here doing the work, carrying the work, working alongside each other. It's wonderful to see transformation. It's also just wonderful to be in space with those folks in a different type of space where people can just move freely, speak freely. RJ work takes so many forms and really looks different when you have to do it under the confines of DOC versus when you're able to do it out here. There's such a shift. So that is the biggest joy, I think, is just seeing that transformation and all the beautiful faces that are coming home, and hoping to see more beautiful faces keep coming home. And I'm going to kick it to you, Dolphy.
Thank you. Can I just echo what you said? No, thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be in this space and be on this panel. And when I think of the joys that have come from participating in this work around restorative justice, I think personally for me, one of the many joys has been like the deepening of my relationships with folks, and especially the relationship with myself. I think restorative justice is all about relationships and deepening those. And another really big joy is seeing, excuse me, like the positive impact on folks when they choice into the process, and just kind of being able to witness their growth is I think something really special. And I'm not sure, am I passing it to somebody or is it going back to you, Luke?
Oh, no.
No.
Tyra.
I was just,
Sorry.
I wasn't sure if you were still adding something to that, but
Sorry.
no worries. I would say for me, some of the joys of this work is the relationships you build in the process. Like, I feel like in CJ, the way that we do RJ, like you don't see people for what they've done, you see them for who they are. And you really allow yourself to build deep and genuine relationships with people. And those relationships keep on moving into spaces where you're helping more people heal and you're helping more people build and strengthen their relationships. And those relationships a lot of times look like how you treat yourself, how you hold yourself, how are you holding others, how are you encouraging others, and how are you processing the things, those things that you don't really want to make room to process, but you need to deal with. It's spaces like that where you build deep, genuine relationships where you can actually process life together and support each other through that. I think for me, and also like watching that transformation happen, the transformation's continuous. It's like a circle, just like the seasons come around, transformation just continues to happen when we continue to make space to hold each other, to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood. And that's something that I continually feel in the space at CJ doing this work. We're continually creating space for each other. And that to me is where the transformation happens. That's what brings me joy, because we've all been through the mud, but what does it look like to be in the mud with someone and not feel judged, but feel supported and encouraged and make it through it, Yeah. I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Lupe.
Thanks, Tyra, Dolphy, and Cass. We often talk a lot about in this work that is grounded in relationship, like that's where it stems from, and love. And you also beautifully named that in your responses of like the joy is building those deep relationships with people, and being able to be held in spaces together without judgment. And then you even spoke to, I heard you, Dolphy, and Tyra speaking to like your own work and building your own relationship with yourself and how that transforms and evolves in these spaces that you've built these wonderful, beautiful relationships with people across the board. So just want to highlight that. It was so wonderful. Question number 2. I'm going to start with you, Dolphy, and then if we can go then to Tyra and then Cass. The second question is, in the video, folks heard and saw one of our wonderful collective members, Kathy, who has been with us from the beginning, also speaking. And one of the things that Kathy says is that searching for justice and what it looked like for her was not in like the traditional ways. And she also knows that what justice would be for her is not the same for other people. And it's a good part of this or relates well to this question of, we know that justice will look different for each person. So for you, would you be open to sharing what justice looks like, sounds like, or feels like for you? Dolphy, here you go.
Thank you. Such a question. I think it looks different for everyone. And in our current criminal legal system, justice is correlated with punishment, which, is not serving anyone justice. So I think the first thing we need to do is like reimagine what justice is, and there are so many possibilities that can come from that. And for me, what it looks like is I keep thinking of so many different things, and I keep coming back to like love, and everything stems from that, and just a way for us to care for one another in a healthy way, and in a way that we can be accountable to ourselves and move through it. And yeah, I love how every time I watch that video so far, I get emotional, because I just love how Kathy captures that, and it really is. And how we can move through it. And it's all a continuous healing journey, and that we can smile again. And I just think that really embodies it for me. And I will pass it to Tyra.
Thank you, Dolphy. I really believe when I think about justice and what justice means, the main thing that comes to mind to me is love. And I've heard it being said here tonight. And to me, justice is, it's not, when someone in our society, when someone commits a crime, you're thrown away. You're put into a place, you're left there, you're removed from society, you're isolated, you're neglected, you're not taken care of, you're not even treated like a person anymore. And that's not love, and that's not justice. When we throw people away, we don't allow them the chance to heal. And I think justice, real justice, includes creating spaces for people to heal. It includes spaces for people to receive love. Whether you've caused harm or whether you've impacted from harm, we're all impacted from harm in reality. There's none of us who we could say we've never been impacted by nothing. If you're alive in this world, there is harm, and you might not be aware of it, or you may be aware of it, or different levels of awareness of it, but harm is real and it's happening. And if you're a human, we have some experience with it. And even if there's not deep personal experience with it, when you care for people, then you do experience harm. And that's the real thing there to me. Justice is caring for people. Justice is hearing people. Justice is showing love. Justice is giving space to heal and to forgive. I think forgiveness is wrapped up in justice because it's connected to peace. And I think that in reality, we all want peace. We want a peace of mind. We want to be able to support each other and encourage each other. And justice includes treating people like people. And at its core, it's seeing people for who they are, not who you think they are, not what you assumptions or judgments, receiving people for who they are. And extending love, extending love isn't based off whether or not you think someone deserves it. It should be unconditional. And our society has been built on conditional love, conditional behavior, conditional discipline, punishment, all of the things that we see our systems are built off of. But real justice requires love. In its basic function, it requires love for people. And I'll go ahead and pass to you, Cass.
Thank you, Tyra. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say after that, but I mean, yeah, for sure. I think I would just agree with Dolphy and Tyra. Healing for me definitely is deeply rooted in love, also deeply rooted in healing and creating opportunities for people to feel peace. I think when I think of justice, my brain automatically wants to think of, folks incarcerated, because that's been so much of my connection point, but it really is justice for everyone involved, both those impacted by harm and those that have caused harm, and figuring out a way to create those spaces of healing before we get to the point where we're trying to find spaces of healing inside systems. So like figuring out how to teach our young people how to heal, how to teach our young people how to find peace. Justice would really look great to me if we were starting with our young people and healing those harms in the homes and in the hearts of our young people. And so maybe we can prevent some of our young people from going inside, causing harm, or being impacted even more deeply by harm. I think that is the root of justice for me, is starting with our young people. Send it back to you, Lupe.
Thanks, y'all. Another common theme, love. Justice looks like unconditional love, and it starts with our youngins. We want to support and ensure that we can do all that we can so that they are getting what they need and not in spaces in the future that are continuing to harm them. And peace. And I've heard folks name in your responses around and in restorative justice, we are centering the folks that are that have been harmed, and also what is it when we have our heal circles, we also talk about what is it that folks have experienced, the folks that have caused harm have experienced harm themselves, and really getting into that and deepening what brought them to that place and providing space for that, which is what we do a lot in the work that we do. And it goes into kind of question number 3. Tyra, I'm going to start with you on this question, if that is cool. We will pass it to Cass after, and then Dolphy. But all of you are in spaces with others who have caused some serious harm. And we wanted to ask, what would you share with survivors about the nuances and challenging emotions that might come up for other survivors when participating in and facilitating this work?
Thanks, Lupe. I would say for me, actually, let me double look at the question. Let's see. I would say for me, thinking about sharing space, like experiencing serious harm and being a survivor and sharing space when emotions have come up with other survivors. I would say the biggest thing that I had to do personally was acknowledge what emotions are coming up. That for me was like the first step of like, it wasn't trying to like hold it together and think this through. It was like, hold up, wait, what am I feeling right now? I had to like acknowledge what is coming up, and I had to be able to identify it and name it. And once I was able to like put into words, this is what I'm feeling, I felt very comfortable with the team here, with the CJ community, to be able to be like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. I'm not sure if I'm sharing this space, how I'm feeling. I'm not sure if I think I'm angry, I'm hurt. I felt a wide array of emotions, but I had to be able to name it. And then I had to invite others into it. And when I invited others into what I was feeling, they were able to help me process through that. And so for me specifically, thinking about the serious harm I experienced and being in spaces where these tough emotions are coming up, naming them, inviting others into them, and also I think like wrestling with what came up when I invited others into them. Those tough questions that I didn't want to hear came up, but they were also things that helped me heal. And I would say like trusting the process. When you invite others into this who hold this work and they hold it very well with like integrity and intention, like trusting the process when those feelings come up is something I had to do, was just trust the process, submit to like the experience in the room and not just lean on my emotions, but like name my emotions, acknowledge them, invite others into the process, and then trust them in holding me in the process when my emotions were all over the place. Those were things that I really had to do. And another thing in this work, I think like coming back to my core beliefs was something that helped me stay grounded. Was like, what's my core beliefs? Oh, a core belief of mine is I love people. Okay, well, even though this emotion of anger and frustration is coming up, how am I still expressing that love in this process? So I had to like take the things that I really believe in my core and apply them even when my emotions didn't agree. And then through that process, my emotions became an agreement as I dealt with them, but I didn't let my emotions dictate what I believed in my heart. But definitely having support, naming what you need and having support. Those were the first 2 steps for me in being held as a survivor. Naming what I'm feeling, getting help, reaching out. Those are the main things that come to my mind. I forgot who I was passing it to. So Lupe, I'm passing it back to you.
Oh, you're
It's
good.
me. I got you. Thank you for that, Tyra. I would echo a lot of what Tyra said. Trusting the process is really important when you're moving in space together. But I think the biggest thing that stands out for me as a person who facilitates this type of work is just like modeling. I have recently got a big lesson in what it is to model being able to trust the process and move through the space. And that's really hard to do. It's really easy to hold a job or a position in an agency that does restorative justice. And it's not actually easy to do restorative justice. So being able to like make mistakes, fumble the ball, move into space and take accountability for fumbling the ball, and then model what it looks like to pick the ball back up and run with it is the thing I would say the most. Like it's you're gonna have hard times, you're gonna have tough moments, emotions are gonna come up, problems are gonna arise, and all of those things are 100% okay. And we'll figure it out from there because we're doing it together. And we're gonna model for each other what it looks like to do it together. It's your turn, Dolphy. I'm throwing the ball to you, Dolphy.
Thank you. I will catch it. Thank you for this question. It's such a powerful question and hard to answer because I feel like everyone responds to harm differently, which means their needs are different too. Kind of, I think I said that before, and having been on both sides of harm, I think it's a lot of learning needs to happen. I think to get to a space, a lot of growth needs to happen, and I think one of the biggest challenges is being open and willing to approach things with curiosity to gain that understanding of the why, and learning about those conditions and unpacking that, whatever created this harm to begin with, and think about what restoration looks like and feels like for you, and know that it will take time, and then also that it's okay to be angry and go through the grieving process. And I think it's totally okay and part of the healing journey. And the hope is that folks would be open, that be able to come to a place and be open to that process. I'll pass back to you, Luke.
Awesome. Thanks for answering the question, y'all. Yeah, I've heard all folks mention like parts about trusting the process. Feels very true, right? It's a hard process where lots of emotions that'll come up for people are very different. And it just makes me go back to the questions that y'all already answered. And what's stemmed from that is like relationship and love. And we're leading with those always that really help to like set the stage and spaces for these spaces to have, like Cass said, its ups and downs and tough parts, but to be able to also trust in the process and come back to each other and move through it. So thank y'all. Question number 4. We'll start with you again, Dolphy. How about that? Dolphy will kick us off with question number 4, which is, what have been some of the responses that you have received from friends and family and community when you share about RJ and the work you do? And then if you can go Cass after, and then Tyra.
Yeah, it's been it's kind of funny, like all the responses have been positive once I kind of get to talking about it. And also a little surprising, and maybe not so surprising, is what's interesting is how many people don't really know what restorative justice is. So it's kind of a great way to talk about the work, and then they hear about the impact it's having in our communities, and then usually want to try and find ways they can help support the work because they realize how important it is, and how much it's needed. Like that's been a common theme when I share. Yeah. So it's been interesting. for sure. And I'll pass that to you, Cass.
Thanks, Dolphy. I think curiosity is the first word that comes to mind. Folks are curious, not just about what restorative justice is, but also, you know, for real, the real question is, what is it like to work with people that have been in prison for so long? You know, those are the questions all the time. What is it like to be in spaces where people are healing from so much trauma? And like, how do you handle that? It's just like a ton of curiosity. They have a ton of questions. Most people have never heard of, you know, not just collective justice, but organizations that are out here in the world doing restorative justice work in so many different ways in so many parts of community. So it's just met with a lot of curiosity. And then like what Dolphy said, once I start to kind of dive into it and talk to them, their curiosity turns to like excitement. And like, how do I get involved? How do I get connected? How do I learn more? You know, how do I tap in kind of stuff? So that's been the biggest thing. My family's spread out all over the country, and I'm always amazed that all over the country, people have no idea about the magnitude of restorative justice and how transformational it can be in people's lives and how much work is actually out here in the world being done. I am always kind of shocked by that. So I'll pass it to you, Tyra.
Thank you, Cass. I would say for me, as far as my friends and family, when with me sharing with the work that I've done with CJ with them, I would say because I came into CJ as a participant in the HEAL program, like they watched me go through the whole process. So like they seen me have hard conversations. They see me ask them questions. They see me and try to invite them into the space, or some of the things I was learning from there, like try to include it with my family. And so I would say like some of their experience, especially close friends and family, they've experienced it with me. They've experienced a lot of the healing that I've experienced, the transformation. They see me go through the ugly parts of it, and they see me also like resting in the healing part of it. And I would say like it's definitely provoked, especially like my friends and family, to be like, what are you doing? Can I come? And like they want to be a part of it because they've seen the process that I went through, where I was before, going through it, and where I am now. And I would say like, as far as community, when I share this with others, one of the questions, the first thing that comes to mind is with the community that I'm around, people are saying, is this for Black people? They don't know that this is available to the Black community. They don't know that they can be a part of this, and that they don't know that it's accessible. They don't know. Sometimes when you're looking for a healing space, it's not affordable. It's not accessible. It's not by the community. It's not for the community, by the community. And so I would say like the things that people that I've connected with have looked for is like, is this a safe space for us? Is this an accessible space for us? Can we be a part of it? And finding ways to make it work. I think one of the things I appreciate about CJ is like, everyone here really is trying to make this work for the people. And whatever accessibility needs come to mind, there is not a consideration for how we can make this a space that would work for someone. And so I think like most of the people that I've connected with have really felt encouraged to like start their healing journey, or to start wrestling with their healing journey wherever they're at in it. But then they're also open to healing in community. Most of the people I know have always healed in isolation. They've healed with, I'm independent. I'm the strong one. I gotta hold it together. They haven't had the space to be like, I'm falling apart. I need help. Or they haven't had the space to be like, let me deal with the stuff I've never dealt with, because they've been in survivor mode for so long. And so I think like me sharing my journey with them has allowed people to come out of staying in survivor mode and be like, actually, let me take a deep breath and see what's in my garden and how can I deal with it. And so I think it's just an open invitation for people to heal. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. yeah, there's lots of curiosity around RJ and Tyra. In the film, one of the things that you said was you like never realized the power of like listening to people in a space. And I think that that is like, when hearing you guys share around the how your family and community and friends are responding is like, is that right? Like there's this power in the way that y'all are sharing what RJ is and the work that y'all do and have witnessed and been in spaces with folks that is just like reverberating through your loved ones that are feeling it and community that are like wanting it. And so let's continue doing all this wonderful work together, y'all. Yeah, so we have some time, a little bit of time. What we got about like 6 minutes ish to open up to the folks who are joining us today for this panel to have a question. And I know, YQ, you told me what it was going to go down like, and I already forgot. And so would you mind sharing with the group about what is the best way to throw their question out there?
Yeah, totally. No worries. Hi, everybody. I'm YQ. I'm the communications and tech person here at CJ. And so if you thought of a juicy question while you're listening to all the panelists speak, please feel free to just drop it in the chat below, and then Lupe will be moderating the panel. So just literally copy and paste into the chat.
Thank you. Don't be shy. Just give it a little bit, and then if we don't get a question, like we've got one that we can. Oh, we have a question from Ingrid. Thank you, Ingrid. The question is there a strategy to argue for RJ as alternative to incarceration? Good question. I think I'm wondering if the question is like what folks' strategy is in terms of arguing for RJ as an alternative, or collective justices. I'm wondering, yeah, would you mind saying a little bit more?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear any, your organization or what individuals are thinking about. How do we start moving down the road towards more of an alternative path?
Thank you. Yeah, great question. And wondering if potentially there's any DAPS folks that might want to answer who are working with youth diversion programming. It's kind of what we have currently, and also any other folks on CJ who want to answer that question. Maybe we can have 2 people take a stab at it, or 1. There's more questions coming in. Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, I can shoot a shot. One of the things that we like to think about as far as a strategy, we, like Lupe said, we're a part of a consortium called Restorative Community Pathways. It's a diversion program. So folks, young people that are arrested for certain charges, they're not charged. They don't go through the courts. The prosecutor hands it over to RCP. And then folks like Dolphy, one of our members here, Matt, he's the director of our dialogue processes. Stacy, there's a few of folks here that actually engage in facilitating the process between the harmed party and the person who caused harm. But I think aside from that, one of the things we want to do is kind of really think in a long-term strategy. This is multi-generational work, right? We've all been conditioned to associate punishment with accountability. And so one of the things we're really trying to do is build out community, like in a really organic way. So creating spaces for folks to access whether they've caused harm or healed harm, and kind of build out and educate people. We have workshops where we're educating folks around what RJ is and what it isn't, what transformative justice is. And then we have Nikhil, who's our organizing director, who's in community working with folks, showing up to court support, developing like real relationships. We're not really into the politics thing where we're trying to convince a legislator that, hey, you need to get on board with RJ. I think really what we want to do is create these alternatives so that if harm happens even outside of the criminal legal system, that we're there to support people. And by doing it in that way, a more organic strategy is building support and community instead of running to systems and places of power to try to convince them that this is the way that you want to go. And what we found is that it works. I mean, and if you want to go to numbers and things like that, most people that engage with RJ are far more satisfied with the process than people who have actually experienced the legal system. Survivors are just used as pawns that show up to sentencing hearings and then discarded after that for the most part. Whereas right now, what we try to do is, center folks who have been harmed and address, figure out what their needs are, support like folks have shared. So I think that is really the strategy. It's an organic strategy. It's a relationship-centered strategy, and it's true to real restorative justice is.
Thank you, Deb. We have 2 questions that I feel like would really love to get to. Maybe we can get one response, a person speak to each of them. And then I'll pass it back to Deb to give us a closeout. But the first question from Susan, thank you, is their image of RJ is a person who's harmed someone and the person they've harmed sitting down together to discuss the impact or what restoration might look like between the two of them. Can you do RJ work when only one party is ready to come to the table? And if so, what's an example of what that looks like? I'm thinking of our DAPS team and folks that have maybe done some heal circle work. Anybody feel like they'd like to answer that?
I can about it. And then, did I hear you too, Dolphy?
So, yeah.
Okay, I'll swing it over to you.
Get it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that there is an opportunity because there's still an opportunity for healing. With DAPS, the goal is for us to have that circle where we come together. That is the goal. But if that is not the result, still providing an opportunity for healing with someone in their process is still worth it. And so you could definitely still have a conversation. And for one example, I believe I'll let you speak more to it, Dolphy. But I think one example also is like if there's a surrogate person who wants to sit in and have that conversation with you, then they can also help you process through some of those things. So there's definitely like a variety of ways. Is this still worth having a conversation? Yes. It just looks different. It looks different. But there are also still opportunities to heal. If you're not in a DAPS conversation, the direct accountability process, you can still participate and heal in many ways and find that healing throughout the heal circles where it is just someone who's participating as an individual. But I'll pass it to you, Dolphy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you said that so well. I think all I would add is it is kind of a multi-partial approach, and really a lot of the work is done in the preparation sessions. And so you're working with folks individually with the idea of potentially having a direct dialogue, and it doesn't always go that way. And so what we do, we spend the majority of time with them individually anyway, and that's really where the work is done. So by the time folks do come together, they're well prepared, they're well supported, it's all mapped out, and we have a plan. But again, the work is mostly done with the person ahead of time anyway. So to answer your question, I think yes.
Yes, awesome. We are quickly approaching 7 p.m. and definitely want to honor folks this time who are here today and who are on the panel. And we had a couple questions that we unfortunately, sorry, Hannah and Keely and Cheryl, that we were not able to get to. I feel like the short answer to your question, Cheryl, is no. Like there's not like a lot of orgs and money out there that are doing this work, and we hopefully that'll be changing in our futures. But I just want to say thank you to the panel folks for showing up and showing out and providing your wonderful, loving, brilliant responses to the questions. Love you all so much. Y'all are dope. And I'm gonna pass it back to Devin, who is going to close us out for the evening.
All right, thank you. Hannah and Keely, I would say real quick, I would say healing is possible for everybody. I think that's one of the biggest thing I've learned is that healing is possible for everybody. Like Tyra said, when you're given space and you're given access and you're given the love and support that you need, that it's possible and it does actually happen. And with that, right, these spaces, we want to definitely thank all of y'all for coming out. And as we close out, just, give a shout out to our panel. If we could do the little reactions where we do the, the celebration things, like please. And like Zoom is cool, man, but we just like doing stuff in person, but just give our people, man, just the love and all the things that the flowers they deserve, man. Cause like we're talking about the work, but they really embody this. They show up. Shout out to the whole team. There's a lot of people here. So if I miss you, man, blame it on my head, not my heart. And as we close, man, big shout out to my comrade, my right hand person, my left hand person, YQ. Thank you for holding down the tech stuff. YQ does all the pretty designs, Eventbrites, and everything. So yeah, just thank you all for coming. And as we leave, this work is we wish we could do it for free. We thank you for your contributions. You asked about like what does it do to hold a circle, and whether you can contribute or not, what we would really ask is for you to be able to share this workout with people in your community. Tell 5 people about what CJ is doing and ask them to tell 5 people. And then we also have a link tree that we're going to leave in the chat. And we would love for you all to copy that down and share it out with the people that are in your network, and just, hey, invite them to a conversation. Check out our website. Like I said, we offer dialogue processes, healing circles, and we also are providing educational workshops and trainings so we can bring the work to you. You don't have to come to us. We want to make this accessible. We want to make it accessible not just to you, but to other folks in the community. And we really love your support. We do this in community. We would love to be sustained by community, so we can continue to show that healing is possible for all people on all sides, and that we're stronger together, and that it's possible. You don't have to believe the lie that accountability is punishment. Accountability and justice is love, right? And we'll just leave it there. So thank you all for coming, and hopefully we hear from you. Hit us up on the website. Let's figure out a way to connect.
Thanks, everyone.